Happiness through curiosity on the Ranveer Show. Is it almost certain that Trump's going to win this election now?
I wouldn't say that. And the reason I wouldn't say that is it's 4 months away. So many things can happen in 4 months. So many things. I mean, think about how Twitter works, right? To be clear, does he have probably a way better shot than he did in 2016 or 2020? Yes. That's all what all the polling says. You can kind of feel the energy and so on and so forth. But we're in such an unstable time for the world. Literally, they could have nuclear war with Russia between now and then. The global economy could collapse because this fizzing stick of dynamite that I mentioned, the economy's there. There could be more violence, God forbid, or just crazy things, right?
Like in the Indian context, there's a certain number of extreme right people who are going to vote right and extreme left people are going to vote left. So then it's the people in the center who sway the election either side.
Yeah.
So center right, center left, what will sway them to either side when in the American context?
Well, so the Hamas's attack on Israel definitely swayed a lot of people who are center left to Trump. BLM swayed a lot of people to Trump. Inflation has swayed a lot of people against Biden to Trump, because if you're on you and I will notice food getting expensive, right? And I could only imagine, if you're on a low wage salary and to deal with 25% devaluation of the dollar over the last 4 years, and it's probably an underestimate, people are just getting choked to death by the inflation, and that all manifests under Biden's term. And it was something where the Fed and Treasury denied it and said it was transitory for a long time, if you remember that, right? Before they hiked rates to the moon. So they basically faked out the whole economy and actually broke a lot of things by doing that. So it's the Hamas, there's BLM, there's inflation, there's the state of blue cities, where essentially the homeless industrial complex is being paid to let people die on the street and hand them syringes and so on. There's just insane levels of wokeness in general in the school system, where people are taught that men and women don't exist and the kind of thing. There's the internet censorship. There's just a lot. There's a lot, man. There's a lot of things that have gone wrong in America over the last 10 years in particular. Partly what's happened, as I said, is it got destabilized. It's like you wheel a suitcase at the airport and it gets hit and it's rocks this way, and then you try and stabilize it with your wrist and it rocks that way. And sometimes you can restabilize it in time, but sometimes it goes and then it just falls over, right? And I see the swings in the system getting stronger like this. I don't see them stabilizing. It's not like a pendulum where it's someone says oh, the pendulum will swing back. Okay, but what if it swings off? Because I'm seeing the amplitudes getting larger, right? And I'm actually also seeing the swing to the left and the swing to the right happening at the same time, where you're having, as I said, the trans surgeries for kids and also abortion bans, and the center of safe, legal, and rare of the 90s is lost, right? Just as an example. So here's why this is actually such a big deal, okay? It's less of a big deal for non-Americans, but you don't even realize this. Okay, think about when's the last movie you saw where you see Transformers?
Yeah.
Okay, you see the Marvel movies?
Yeah.
Okay, so the U.S. military is a good guy in Transformers, right? And who's the big star of the Marvel movies?
Superheroes.
Yes, but who's the main one? Captain America. Okay, if you go and look at many movies, there's a climactic scene where they go to the White House for the decision. Okay, whether it's Independence Day from the 1990s, there's lots of movies, science fiction movies where aliens land, they go to the White House for the decision and so on and so forth, right? And we take that for granted. It's just in the backdrop, right? But there's a movie called Don't Look Up. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really important movie. Here's why. That came out, I think, 2021. If you watch Contagion, which came out 2010, and then Don't Look Up, there's another movie in a sense. They're not part of a trilogy, okay? But conceptually, they're part of a trilogy. There's something coming in 2030, and here's why. Contagion portrays a deadly virus, but a highly competent U.S. government and CDC. With consummate professionals who are willing to risk their lives for the people and so on and so forth. And if you don't have direct experience of something, you're going to rely on the Hollywood image of it to fill in the gaps.
Wow. Go on.
It's actually a very deep point, right? Name some place you haven't been you're going to rely on name some time you haven't seen, right? Well, what do you think about the Wild West? Have you researched it for yourself? No. You're going to think it probably looks like the Hollywood movies, right? So huge parts of your mental furniture is filled in by things that could be cardboard and you don't even know it. You have to like push on it and you'll see if it falls over. So during 2020, we all pushed on the cardboard of the CDC and it just fell over crank like this. And every US institution was just pure Potemkin nothingness. Like, here's a great example. Like, so if I had read this in 2018, see, it says, new biodefense strategy combats man-made and natural threats, September 18th, 2018. A living document, right, is critical for our defense. So this was at the Spanish flu epidemic. See, they were aware of Spanish flu. They even used a photo of Spanish flu, right? A cabinet level biodefense steering. This approach best suited for carrying out the strategy operationally. New techniques, right? A range of threats from nations to individuals, right? This was a naturally occurring outbreak. The threats are real and growing. And so they allocated this money. Like in 2018, if I just read this, I'd have said, okay, well, that's good that they're on top of this, right? Now we realize that this was just purely vaporware. See, if you evaluate startups for a living, there are guys who can do like a good slide deck, but then they can't actually build a company, right? Or there's people who can do a good slide deck and build a company, but they can't build as good as Zuck. Execution actually matters. It's not just the writing and so on and so forth. However, if we can't observe the execution, all we can go off is the writing. Like if somebody gives you a pitch and says they're doing a social network, you'll say, okay, well, show me the details and what are the metrics and so on, and you're putting in your money. When they say we're solving the homeless problem for the government, you don't diligence it in the same way. Because you see what I'm saying, right? You just trust the label that's on the tin, but it's not necessarily accurate, right? In fact, it's often optimized to be inaccurate as to what they're actually doing. They're often not solving the homeless problem, but making it worse because they have more budget, the more homeless there are. It's like the Feed the Pigeons Society. More pigeons, more budget. For more pigeons, we need more money for more of the pigeons, right? So, why did I get on this? So, the trilogy, right? Contagion 2010 showed a competent U.S. government. Don't Look Up 2021. It was supposed to be a parable about climate change, but frankly, it could be anything. It also shows the decision coming up to the U.S. government, in particular to the White House. But this time, they make a bumbling hash of the whole thing. And everybody's portrayed as completely incompetent and so on, and the bad guys win and the meteor hits or what have you, okay? But there's still an implicit thing there. You know what it is? Despite all that bumbling, that the world will still look to America for leadership, to DC and the White House for leadership. But by 2030 or 2035, that won't be the case on the current trajectory.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.